But an even worse calamity than the income tax is the insidious but devastating inflation tax. The income tax takes a fraction of one's earnings, but then leaves the rest alone, renouncing all further claims to that money. The inflation tax keeps on taxing the same income. Indeed, it is a tax on the entirety of one's holdings. Even under the ludicrously termed mild inflation of the 1990s, 3% of a person's savings would disappear every year. That means that a man who worked hard for his money and frugally held on to it would lose half of it with no compensation and no external benefits in 24 years. As Milton Friedman pointed out, with extensive evidence to support him, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. The sole fundamental cause of a general increase in consumer prices in an age of ever-increasing technical productivity and material abundance is the government's feverish, frenzied printing of obscene amounts of new currency. Ron Paul will defeat inflation, the greatest threat facing Americans today, by first stopping the printing of new fiat money, and furthermore, by leading a transition back to the gold standard. Gold, because it must be mined from the ground and refined, cannot be created in indefinite quantities by the government. Therefore, the money stock under a gold standard will seldom, if ever, increase faster than the rate at which new goods and services are produced. A further ominous threat, one of the greatest threats ever faced by Western civilization, comes from radical environmentalists led by Al Gore and the United Nations. These anti-technology, anti-prosperity ideologues have concocted a global warming scare and used the power of censorship and the power of ridicule to silence hundreds of expert climatologists who question the existence of man-made global warming. Not only is the integrity of science and the scientific method at stake, but the very technological lifeblood of our comfortable, materially abundant lives is under attack. The regulations proposed by the environmentalists will raise taxes on energy so as to make it far less affordable to most Americans, shut down existing coal and gas power plants, block the construction of new power plants, impose economically onerous cap-and-trade schemes, and block the development of new energy technologies. If elected, Ron Paul will reverse the radical environmentalist threat via his unwavering adherence to the U.S. Constitution, which does not authorize the United States to be bound by colossal international regulations stipulated in the Kyoto and Bali Accords. Ron Paul will veto any domestic attempts to impose environmental regulations, as the Constitution never authorizes the federal government to engage in such regulation. Furthermore, Ron Paul desires America's withdrawal from the corrupt, ineffective, socialistic, and morally perverse dictators' club that is the United Nations.